Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there.
We've got a stack of sources today that take us away from the usual crypto trading charts.
Yeah, definitely shifting gears.
We're getting onto solid ground. I mean, literally. Real land, real people in Africa.
That's right. This deep dive is all about understanding how smart contracts and, blockchain tech are being applied to land ownership there.
And why it's not just some, like, abstract tech thing.
Exactly. It's tackling some really complex, um, age-old problems.
Yeah, the sources we looked at, they really kind of lay out the core issue pretty clearly.
They do. I mean, in many places in Africa, land ownership isn't simple. It's not like you just get a single deed from a government office, right?
Right, it's deeply tangled up with traditional systems, family inheritance, clan agreements.
Decisions by chiefs, local customs. And the trouble starts when those old ways clash with, well, modern government rules or developers coming in.
Or even just basic record keeping falling apart.
Yeah, you get confusion, land disputes flare up all the time.
And sometimes, sadly, real conflict.
So the mission here for this deep dive is to see how this technology, blockchain, smart contracts is sort of stepping into that mess.
Okay, so how are they being used based on this material? And why is it becoming, a significant thing?
Right, so diving into the material. What is a smart contract here? How does it actually connect to land?
Good question.
Well, think of a smart contract basically as an agreement that enforces itself. It's just code running on a blockchain.
Okay.
And once the conditions written into that code are met, boom, the agreement automatically executes. No middleman needed, necessarily.
For land?
For land, what the source is describing is using this tech to make the ownership records verifiable and to automate parts of the whole process.
Okay, but how does that actually work? Like, on the ground, what do the articles say?
So the process they outline usually starts with digitally mapping the land parcels, sometimes using tools like satellite imagery, GPS.
Seeing the boundaries down.
Exactly. Then, that information, like who owns the land, and just as importantly, the traditional rules about it, that gets verified.
Verified by who?
Often involving local community members, elders,
Right.
the people who actually hold that historical knowledge. You need their buy-in.
Right, the local context is key.
Absolutely. And once it's verified, then that ownership info and those specific rules get recorded onto a blockchain.
Ah, okay. So the smart contract isn't just the record of who owns it.
No. It actually contains the rules tied to that piece of land,
Like what?
like conditions for inheritance, who gets the land next according to custom. It can define the terms for sale or transfer or use.
And because it's on the blockchain.
Exactly. That record is, well, immutable. It can't just be changed or deleted easily, not without agreement across the network.
And it's transparent.
And it's transparent, yeah, visible to anyone who's authorized to see it.
Okay, now I see the connection. Let's link that back to the problems we mentioned. Lost paperwork, corruption. How does this help?
Well, it hits them head on, like the sources point out, a digital immutable record on a blockchain. It can't just get lost like a paper deed in some dusty office.
Right. Or conveniently disappear.
Precisely. And maybe more crucially, it drastically cuts down the opportunity for corruption. There isn't that single official who can secretly tweak a record or, flip a deed for a bribe behind closed doors.
Because the history and ownership are out there, verifiable.
Yeah, publicly verifiable on the chain. It makes those kinds of fraudulent claims or shady backroom deals way harder to pull off without anyone noticing.
So it sounds like it could cut through a lot of that bureaucracy, the kind that allows these awful land grab scams to happen.
That's the potential, absolutely. By creating this verifiable, transparent history, who owns it? What are the rules it establishes a kind of neutral truth?
A neutral truth. I like that.
Yeah, one that's resistant to manipulation. It gives a level of certainty that, frankly, the traditional systems sometimes struggle with, especially when records are scattered or easily tampered with.
And this isn't just theory, right? The articles mentioned actual projects.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're seeing projects pop up, Kenya's mentioned, with companies like Land Lay-By working on tokenizing land titles, putting them on a blockchain.
Tokenizing titles, okay.
In Nigeria, there are initiatives using Ethereum-based systems, specifically mentioned for recording ownership for disputed farmland, trying to create that clear digital lineage.
In Ghana.
Ghana too, yeah. Exploring specific land chain registries to bring clarity, especially around long-standing boundary and ownership fights.
What really jumps out from reading all this? It feels like the real power isn't just the fancy tech itself.
No. What is it then?
It's the trust it could build. Trust in systems that historically might have lacked it.
I think that's spot on. That's the key takeaway, really. The sources keep emphasizing that the blockchain's value here is providing that decentralized, verifiable, that neutral truth we talked about.
It takes the reliance off potentially unreliable or, corruptible gatekeepers.
Exactly. It establishes a trusted records for something so incredibly fundamental, like who owns what piece of land.
Now, the sources are realistic too, right? They mention hurdles.
Oh, for sure. They don't gloss over the challenges. Things like, reliable internet access everywhere, building tech literacy in communities so people understand and trust it.
And getting governments, which can be slow, fully on board.
Right. But they seem to frame these more as hurdles to overcome, not like fundamental roadblocks that kill the whole idea. The long-term potential is still seen as huge.
Absolutely. And despite those hurdles, the potential impact feels pretty profound.
Yeah. When you look at this specific application, secure, verifiable land rights, it really hammers home that blockchain isn't just about, meme coins or speculation.
Right. It's foundational tech.
It really is.
Right.
It has the potential to solve these deep, real-world human problems. I mean, if it can bring clarity and reduce conflict around something as vital as land. Wow.
That really would earn it a place in history, wouldn't it? As a truly revolutionary tool.
No question.
It definitely makes you pause and think, though. Where else in the world do you have these complex, maybe ancient, traditional systems bumping up against the modern need for clear, trusted records?
Good question.
What other fundamental human systems, maybe identity or managing shared resources or even just community governance, could benefit from a similar approach? Using this kind of tech for transparency and cutting down disputes.
Yeah. Something to definitely chew on long after this deep dive is over.